All right, get ready to dive into a productivity classic. We're tackling Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog today.
If you've ever felt, overwhelmed by your to-do list.
Oh, yeah.
Or struggled to prioritize, all your work.
Absolutely.
This is the deep dive for you.
This is the one.
This book really cuts through all the noise, and it just gives you a practical way to get things done.
Okay, I love that. So, starting with the most important task, which is, of course, your frog.
Your frog, yes.
Love the metaphor, but let's break it down. What exactly is this frog we're supposed to be eating?
Okay, so think of it this way. Your frog is that one task. You know, the one that's been staring you down, the one you're most likely to just keep putting off,
Yeah.
procrastinating on. It might be really challenging. It might even be a little, unpleasant, but it's usually the task that will have the biggest impact on your day, on your week, even on your, long-term goals.
So it's about tackling the big stuff first.
Exactly.
Even if it feels a little daunting.
Exactly. And Tracy argues that by getting it out of the way early, you set yourself up for a much more productive, successful day.
I can already see how this could be a game changer for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of setting yourself up for success, the book really emphasizes setting clear goals.
Yes.
And writing them down.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty amazing. It says only 3% of adults actually write down their goals.
It's a crazy statistic.
It is, and yet they achieve way more than those who don't.
It always jumps out at me.
Yeah.
It's an incredible statistic. And the book goes on, it's not just about writing them down. He gives you a 7-step formula to actually put those goals into action.
Oh, wow.
You've got decide, write, deadline, list, organize, act, and daily progress.
So there's a clear structure. You've got your ingredients, your instructions, you follow them, and then boom, success.
Exactly.
Love it.
And what's so interesting about this formula is it's not about vague aspirations.
Yeah.
It's very concrete actions. So each step builds on the last one. So it gives you a path, a tangible path to your goal.
Okay, so we've got our goals written down. Now what? What's the next step?
Planning. Tracy's a huge advocate for planning. He actually says it's like bringing the future into the present so you can do something about it now.
Powerful
right? Stuff, yeah.
You're basically saying if we don't have a plan, you're leaving your success up to chance.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
And he dedicates a whole chapter to planning. Because he argues that just 10 to 12 minutes of planning every day can save you 2 hours or more of wasted time.
Wow.
And effort each day.
That's amazing. What? A return on investment? That's incredible.
Incredible return on investment. Yeah. And it's just those few minutes you spend, before you go on a road trip,
Yes.
mapping out your route.
Yeah.
So you don't get lost, you're not backtracking, you're not wasting time.
Exactly. Okay, so he breaks down planning into different levels, right?
Yes, he does.
You got master lists, monthly lists, weekly lists, and daily lists.
That's right.
It's like this cascading system. So you're capturing everything, and then you're breaking it down into manageable chunks.
Exactly. And that prevents that feeling of being overwhelmed
Yes.
by this giant to-do list.
Absolutely.
You're taking this big, scary monster, and then you're just dissecting it.
Bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
how do we decide which tasks deserve a spot on those coveted lists?
Well, there's the 80-20 principle.
The 80-20 principle, right?
That's right. So it's a fundamental concept in Eat That Frog. So it's the idea that 20% of our efforts will produce 80% of our results.
Okay.
So the key is to identify those high-impact tasks, the ones that will really move the needle the most. Those are your frogs.
So it's not about doing more, it's about doing the right things.
Exactly. And he gives this great example of a salesperson.
Okay.
So their key result area is opening new accounts, right? It's not doing administrative work. So by focusing on that 20% that actually generates 80% of their success, they can really increase their effectiveness.
Okay, so it's like finding those leverage points.
Yes.
In your work, where a little effort can produce a big impact. Okay, so this is where I think things get interesting. What about the long-term consequences
Yes.
of our actions?
That's a key principle in the book, right? He
Yeah.
calls it developing a long-time perspective. So it's thinking beyond the immediate urgency of a task and considering the impact on your future.
So will this matter a year from now? 5 years from now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And those important tasks, the ones with the long-term consequences, those are your frogs.
Those are the frogs, okay.
He actually argues that developing this long-time perspective is a better predictor of success than your background,
Wow.
your intelligence, even your connections.
That's pretty powerful.
It is.
Okay, so it's not just about getting things done. It's about making sure that you're working on the right things.
Absolutely.
Things that are actually aligned with your long-term goals.
The life you want to create.
Yes.
And to help you make those choices and prioritize effectively, he introduces the ABCDE method.
Okay, break that down. What is this method, and how does it help us eat those frogs?
So think of it as a system for going beyond a basic to-do list, right? So you assign a letter to each task. You've got A for vital, B for should do, C for nice, D for delegate, and E for eliminate.
So it's a ranking system for our tasks.
Yeah.
A tasks are the most important.
Exactly. And the key here is discipline.
Discipline.
To tackle those A tasks, especially your A1 task, before anything else. So, he emphasizes that the more important and valuable a task is, the more likely you are to procrastinate on it.
It's so true.
Right.
It's so true.
So this is to help you, fight that natural tendency to put off the big stuff.
Okay. And it's like this visual reminder of what needs to be done first.
Exactly. And he gives a really great example to illustrate this.
Okay.
So imagine you have to finish like a report for your boss, right? That's your A1 task.
Okay.
But you also have these low priority calls to return. Those are B tasks. This method helps you to not fall into that trap of doing the easier, less important tasks before tackling that A1 report.
It's so relatable. It's so easy to get sidetracked by those smaller tasks.
Yes.
But ultimately, they're not moving the needle
No.
as much as those big frogs.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the ABCDE method for prioritizing,
Yeah.
but he also encourages us to identify our key result areas.
Yes.
KRAs. What exactly are those?
So it's about getting really clear on what your role is, what you're being paid to do. He asks a really provocative question.
Okay.
Why are you on the payroll?
I love that. It makes you really think,
It does. It does. And it forces you to think beyond your job title.
Yeah.
And understand the core results that you're responsible for. He argues that every job has 5 to 7 key areas, just like the vital organs in a body.
Oh, wow.
If one of them fails, the whole system suffers.
Okay, so it's not just about doing tasks. It's about understanding how those tasks contribute to the bigger picture.
Absolutely. And he uses the example of a manager whose weak spot is delegating.
Okay.
And so that one skill, or actually lack of skill, ends up holding them back from really being effective in their role.
Wow, that's a great example. So even small weaknesses in key areas can have this ripple effect on your overall performance.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, so this is all making a lot of sense. But what about time? We all feel like we're constantly racing against the clock. How does Eat That Frog address that lack of time?
Well, he calls it the law of forced efficiency.
Okay.
It's this concept that there is never enough time to do everything, but there is always enough time to do the most important thing.
Okay, I love that. So it's not about trying to cram everything in. It's about strategically choosing what to focus on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it really debunks that whole myth of, I work better under pressure.
Oh, yeah, that's a myth for sure.
The research actually shows that it leads to more mistakes, lower quality work, and even stress.
More stress, right?
More stress. So Eat That Frog is really about working deliberately and efficiently, not frantically.
I love that. So it's not just about getting things done. It's about getting the right things done in the right way.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key principle, preparation.
Preparation.
The book makes this great analogy. He says having everything ready before you start a task is like having a cocked gun ready to fire.
Oh, I love that visual. That's perfect. So preparation sets you up for that smooth execution.
Absolutely.
It minimizes distractions and mental friction.
Exactly. And it's really about creating that ideal environment to enter that flow state.
The flow state, yes.
Where you could be completely absorbed in the task and really be working at peak performance.
Yeah, there's that example in the book of a script, right? That's almost done.
Yes.
But the reality is almost done usually means not yet started.
Because of inadequate preparation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our goals, our priorities, we're prepped. Now what?
Continuous learning.
Continuous learning.
So the book emphasizes becoming better at those key tasks, the ones that really drive your success.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just do the work. You have to constantly strive to improve your skills and your knowledge.
I think that's so important because, learning is an ongoing process.
Absolutely.
And even experts in their field can always get better.
Absolutely. He actually shares a personal anecdote from himself.
Okay.
He talks about how he actually learned to touch type so he could write his books more efficiently.
Wow. That's great. So even, seemingly small skills can have a big impact on your overall productivity and your effectiveness.
Huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's something that anyone can do, no matter what your level of expertise is. There's always room for improvement.
It's like compound interest
Yes.
for your career.
Yeah.
Right. The more you learn, the more you can achieve.
Absolutely.
So the more opportunities open up to you.
That brings us to leveraging your unique talents and abilities.
Okay, love that.
He actually encourages us to ask ourselves, what am I really good at and what do I enjoy most? And he actually points out that those two things often overlap.
Right. So it's finding that sweet spot.
Yes.
Where your strengths and your passions align.
Exactly. And he even connects this to your earning ability as your top asset.
Okay.
So those skills and talents that you can always rebuild with no matter what setbacks you face.
So investing in ourselves,
Absolutely.
in our skills and abilities is one of the best investments we can make.
Yeah, and it's about more than just, earning potential. It's when you're working in areas that are aligned with your talents and interests.
Oh.
You're more likely to be engaged, motivated, and fulfilled in your work.
What really stood out to you from this part of the book?
I loved when he talked about self-awareness.
Oh, yeah.
When he encourages us to think about the praise we receive or the tasks that really energize us.
Yes.
It's about recognizing those strengths.
It's like being your own talent scout.
Exactly.
So we each have these unique gifts and abilities.
Absolutely.
And it's up to us to discover them, nurture them, and then leverage them
Absolutely.
to create a life that we love.
Exactly. And then once we've identified those, it's time to look at what might be holding us back.
Okay. So we've celebrated our strengths. Now let's talk about those weaknesses.
Yes.
Those things that prevent us from reaching our full potential. How do we tackle those?
Well, he asks us, what's holding you back? And he acknowledges that it could be something internal, like a limiting belief or maybe a fear of failure. Or it could be something external, like a lack of resources or a really difficult work environment.
But even when it's external, we still have the power to choose how we respond to it, right?
Absolutely. And that's where, again, that 80-20 rule comes in.
Okay.
He argues that most of the constraints that we face are actually within our control.
So it's not about playing the victim.
No.
It's about taking ownership
Absolutely.
and focusing on those things that we can change.
Yes. And he shares this great story about a company that misdiagnosed their sales slump.
Okay.
So they thought it was the sales team.
Okay.
But it actually turned out that pricing was the culprit.
Interesting. So we don't always have the full picture.
Right.
And asking the right questions is essential.
Absolutely. So we might be focusing on the wrong problem, or we might be overlooking a simple solution that's right there in front of us.
Okay, so identifying those key constraints is crucial.
Absolutely.
It allows us to focus our energy and resources in the areas that are going to have the biggest impact.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is all really insightful, but let's be honest. Even when we're motivated to eat the frog, those big, daunting tasks can feel really overwhelming. So how do we handle that feeling of just being totally swamped?
He tells us a brilliant story about crossing the Sahara Desert.
Okay.
This vast, unforgiving expanse. And to navigate it, the French marked a route with these oil barrels.
Oil barrels.
Yeah. Spaced 5 kilometers apart.
Wow. So they're crossing this massive desert, and their only guideposts are these oil barrels.
Exactly. And the key to crossing this daunting landscape was to just focus on reaching the next barrel.
Okay, so break it down.
Yeah.
Smaller steps.
Exactly. Just shift your focus from the enormity of the task to the next immediate action that you need to take.
This is so helpful because it tackles that overwhelmed feeling head on.
Exactly.
It reminds us that any goal can be achieved.
One step at a time.
One step at a time.
Exactly.
Right.
And he gives examples like, how you achieve financial independence through small, consistent savings.
Right.
Or, building fitness through daily habits.
Yeah, those small, consistent actions, they really add up over time.
Exactly.
So it's like the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Right.
But sometimes we need a little extra push.
Yeah.
Even when we've broken the task down, we still need that self-motivation.
Absolutely. So he really emphasizes putting the pressure on yourself.
Okay.
Rather than waiting for some external motivation.
So be your own boss.
Yes.
Okay.
He actually suggests working as if you're leaving town tomorrow.
I like that.
What would you absolutely have to get done?
That forces you to prioritize. It really does.
It does. It does.
So suddenly all those distractions and low priority tasks just fade away.
Yes, and you're left with those must-do items.
The essentials.
Yes.
Okay, so it's about taking ownership
Yeah,
and cultivating that internal drive.
exactly.
You don't need a nagging boss or a deadline.
No.
Okay, so we talked about time management, but we also need to manage our energy levels. We can't be productive if we're running on fumes.
Exactly. And that's what he talks about. He actually debunks that myth,
Yeah.
that longer hours equal more work.
Oh, yeah. It's quality over quantity.
Absolutely. He says that productivity actually declines sharply after like 8 or 9 hours of work.
So it's not about burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And he gives really specific actions like get to bed early, take 1 full day off each week, eat really healthy foods. You know, it's about treating your body like this, like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, treat your body right.
Yes.
So speaking of well-oiled machines, our minds need fuel too, right?
Yes, they do.
So what does he have to say about self-motivation and mindset? How do we cultivate that positive outlook that really fuels productivity?
He emphasizes positive self-talk.
Positive self-talk.
Yeah. So he reminds us that 95% of our emotions, come from how we talk to ourselves. So if we're constantly giving ourselves these negative messages,
Right.
we're going to feel discouraged. We're
Yeah.
going to feel less likely to take action.
Like we're our own worst critic.
Exactly.
That's yeah.
So he encourages us to cultivate this optimistic way of thinking.
Even if it feels a little forced at first.
Yes, even
Yeah.
if it feels forced.
Yeah, fake it till you make it.
Exactly. And he gives these really specific things you can do, like repeat phrases, like I can do it or I feel terrific, even if you don't fully believe them yet.
So reprogramming our brains
Yes,
to focus on the positive, believe in ourselves.
absolutely. And he even highlights the 3 key traits of optimists. So optimists look for the good in every situation.
Okay.
They seek the valuable lesson in every setback, and they actively search for solutions to problems. So it's really about adopting that growth mindset.
Okay, so we've talked about goal setting, planning, prioritizing, self-motivation, energy management. But how do we deal with all those other tasks that aren't our frogs, but they're still vying for our attention? How do we manage that?
So that's where creative procrastination comes in.
Wait, creative procrastination, isn't that an oxymoron?
It might sound that way, but he actually calls it the art of deliberately choosing what not to do.
So it's like a strategic retreat
Yes.
from the battlefield of our to-do list.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we can't do everything. So we need to become really good at choosing what to delay or even eliminate altogether.
It's giving us permission to say no,
Exactly.
to protect our time and energy for the things that really matter.
Absolutely. And it goes hand in hand with, the power of saying no.
Yes.
Because he highlights how saying no to low-value tasks actually protects your time for what matters.
Yeah, it's being strategic with our energy,
Exactly.
not selfish,
Exactly.
strategic.
Yeah.
What's your favorite example from this section of the book?
I love the one where he talks about this man who gives up this time-consuming hobby that doesn't fit his lifestyle anymore. So, he realizes that even though it was enjoyable, it was taking up valuable time and energy that he could be using to pursue his goals and even spend time with his family.
So reassess your commitments.
Absolutely.
Let go of things that aren't serving you. Okay, so we've learned how to identify our frogs, prepare to eat them, clear the path. But now for the ultimate challenge. Actually tackling that most difficult task first. The book is called Eat That Frog. How do we make that happen?
This is the heart of the method,
Yeah.
developing the discipline to confront your A1 task
Yeah.
before anything else each day.
Yeah.
And he gives you a step-by-step process for doing this. So it involves evening planning,
Okay.
using the ABCDE ranking, and setting up your workspace.
So it sounds intense,
Yeah.
but I can already imagine that feeling of accomplishment.
Absolutely.
You conquer that big challenge first thing in the morning.
Exactly.
You're like, bring it on.
Exactly.
I'm ready for the rest of the day.
Exactly. It's about building that momentum and feeling like you are in control of your day, not that your day is controlling you.
Yeah. Okay, so we've embraced the Eat That Frog philosophy. We're motivated. We're prepped. But some of these frogs are massive.
They are.
How do we make those less intimidating?
So he introduces 2 methods. He calls them the salami slice and the Swiss cheese.
Okay, now you're talking my language. I'm picturing a giant salami and a block of Swiss cheese. Tell me more.
Okay, so the salami slice is all about breaking down a large task into smaller, more bite-sized pieces and tackling them one at a time. just like you eat a salami.
One slice at a time.
Exactly. The Swiss cheese method is similar, but it's really about focusing on those short, focused bursts.
No?
So like punching holes in a block of Swiss cheese.
Love it.
Yeah.
So those monstrous tasks don't seem so scary anymore. It's about consistency and making progress,
Exactly.
even if it's in small increments.
And those small increments eventually add up to big results.
Big results, yeah.
And he even mentions like, writing a book can feel achievable
Yeah,
if you commit to just writing 1 page a day.
totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so we sliced and diced our frogs. Now let's talk about setting the stage.
Yes.
For these really important frog eating sessions. How do we create that ideal environment to tackle these big tasks?
Well, he emphasizes creating large chunks of uninterrupted time
Okay.
for your most important work. He actually calls it making an appointment with yourself.
So treat it with the same level of importance as any other meeting or appointment. I love that.
Yeah. And he offers practical tips to make this happen.
Yep.
So he's a big advocate for utilizing early mornings at home,
Okay.
before the distractions start.
Yeah, before the world wakes up.
Exactly. So
Right.
turn off your phone, close your email, create a quiet, distraction-free space.
It's like creating this sanctuary
Yes.
for your most important work
Exactly.
where you can get into that flow.
Yes.
Okay.
He also suggests leveraging travel time. Think of it as a gift of time.
Yeah,
Think about all that work you can get done on a plane.
it's true. When you're free from all those distractions, it's amazing. I've definitely had some of my most productive writing sessions on planes.
It's about being proactive and finding those pockets of productivity.
Wherever you can.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our goal set, frogs identified, our time blocked out. We're feeling motivated, we're ready to roll. But how do we maintain that momentum? How do we cultivate that sense of urgency that really keeps us moving forward, even when distractions are calling our name?
So he highlights developing a sense of urgency.
Sense of urgency.
Yes. And he says that high achievers just have this natural, get it done energy.
Action-oriented.
Exactly.
Instead of just talking about it.
Exactly. And he even suggests repeating phrases like, do it now, or back to work.
Okay, so it's like having your own little internal cheerleader, right?
Exactly.
Pushing you to stay focused.
Okay.
So he also connects that sense of urgency to the flow state.
Yes.
So that momentum helps us enter that zone.
Exactly. It's about harnessing that drive and channeling it into productive action.
Okay, so we've got this sense of urgency. We're in the flow state. But distractions can still creep in, especially in this hyper-connected world. Any final tips for staying focused on that one task, on really mastering that art of frog eating?
So he introduces this concept of single handling,
Single-handling.
which is essentially the culmination of all the points we've discussed.
Okay.
So it's about starting your top task and working on it without stopping until it's 100% done.
Okay, so it sounds so simple, yet it's so challenging. I mean, we're constantly bombarded with, notifications, emails, messages. Why is single handling so important? What's the cost of constantly switching tasks?
So every time you switch tasks, you're incurring this mental switching cost.
Okay,
So it takes time and energy
got it.
to reorient yourself to the new task.
So we're not really multitasking, we're just rapidly switching.
Exactly.
And each switch comes with a price.
And he estimates that task switching can actually increase the time it takes you to complete a task by as much as 500%.
Wow. That's huge. Okay, so that's a really compelling reason to stick with single handling.
It is.
It's about respecting your own time, your energy.
It's about working as efficiently as possible.
And it's about eliminating that mental clutter that comes with juggling too many things.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think we've covered a lot of ground in part one here of our deep dive. Eat that frog. So we've talked about goal setting, planning, prioritizing, self-motivation, and energy management. But it really comes down to identifying your frogs and then developing the discipline and the strategies to tackle them head on.
That's right. And that's what this whole philosophy is all about. It's making deliberate choices, prioritizing ruthlessly, and then taking that focused action.
It's about conquering procrastination
Yes.
and creating a life of greater productivity and fulfillment.
Absolutely. Welcome back to our deep dive into Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog.
We've covered a lot of ground already, from setting those crystal clear goals
Yes.
to identifying those sneaky constraints that can hold us back.
Absolutely. But now it's time to really get practical.
Let's talk about putting these strategies into action.
Yes.
Making them a part of our everyday lives.
One of the first things that he suggests is setting deadlines
Okay.
for every task and even sub-deadlines.
Oh, wow.
He calls it creating your own forcing system.
Okay, so it's like holding ourselves accountable,
Exactly.
even when there's no boss breathing down our neck.
Exactly. It's raising the bar for yourself. And once you've set that deadline, the key is to stick to it. Maybe even try to beat it.
I like that it creates a sense of urgency.
Yes.
That get it done energy.
Exactly.
Okay.
He also recommends writing out each step of a major job or project before you even begin,
Oh, that's interesting.
and then estimate how much time each phase is going to require.
So break down those overwhelming tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Exactly. So you've got a roadmap, you've got a clear path forward.
Okay, I like that. And then once you have that roadmap,
You can organize your daily and weekly calendars to create those, time segments
yes.
for each specific task.
Okay, so it's like you're making appointments with your most important work,
Exactly.
just like you would schedule a doctor's appointment
Uh-huh.
or a meeting with a client.
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, so on top of time management,
Yes.
he also talks about managing our energy levels. We're not robots. We need to take care of ourselves if we want to perform at our best.
Absolutely. And, it's so easy to get into that hustle mentality, thinking you always have to be on.
Yeah,
But rest and rejuvenation are crucial.
it's true. They are.
Yes. And so he suggests identifying your peak performance times, those periods of highest mental and physical energy each day,
Okay.
and then scheduling your most demanding tasks
Okay.
around those times.
So you're saying, if you're a morning person, tackle those big frogs first thing
Yes.
when you're feeling fresh and focused.
Yeah.
And if you're a night owl,
Yeah.
maybe save those challenging tasks for the evening
Exactly.
when you're in your groove.
He's a huge advocate for getting enough sleep. He says most people need 7 to 8 hours a night to really function at their best.
I know I'm not my best self when I'm sleep deprived.
No!
Creativity takes a nosedive and I'm way more prone to distractions.
Absolutely. And he even talks about, vacations.
Vacations.
Yeah.
Taking breaks.
Absolutely. Those are crucial, both long weekends and longer vacations, just to maintain peak performance over the long haul.
It's like you're hitting the reset button,
Exactly.
physically and mentally.
Absolutely. And then, we often come back with this fresh perspective and we're able to approach problems with new energy and creativity.
It's true. It's true. Okay.
Yeah.
And we can't talk about energy management without talking about diet.
No.
What we fuel our bodies with has such a huge impact on our energy levels.
It does. And he actually recommends starting the day
Okay.
with a high protein breakfast, like eggs or Greek yogurt, and opting for, salads with lean protein for lunch. So fish or chicken. It's really about giving your body those nutrients that it needs.
So you can power through those frog eating sessions.
Yeah.
I like that. So it's not about deprivation. It's about making healthy choices
Exactly.
that support your energy and focus.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered time management, energy management. Now let's talk about mindset. Tracy is a firm believer in the power of positive self-talk.
Absolutely. And he reminds us, we become what we think about most of the time.
That's so powerful.
It is. So if we're constantly feeding ourselves negative thoughts, we're just going to feel discouraged and less likely to take action.
Yeah. It's like our thoughts create our reality.
Exactly.
So if we believe we could achieve something, we're more likely to put in the effort and make it happen.
Yes.
But if we doubt ourselves, if we tell ourselves we can't do something, well, we're probably right.
And so he suggests consciously cultivating this optimistic thinking by accepting responsibility for ourselves and our circumstances and focusing on solutions instead of problems.
So taking ownership of our lives and our
Right.
work
Yeah.
and focusing our energy on those things we can control.
Exactly.
I like that.
He even suggests this, it's a little bold, but he suggests telling people, we feel terrific
Right.
no matter what's going on.
That takes a little getting used to.
It does. It does. But I get the logic, right?
Yeah.
You're projecting a positive attitude, even when you're facing challenges.
And he also talks about those 3 key traits of optimists.
Yes, he does. So he says they look for the good in every situation. They seek the valuable lesson in every setback.
Okay.
And they actively search for solutions to problems.
So adopting that growth mindset. Okay, so let's circle back to creative procrastination.
Yes.
We touched on it earlier.
All right.
But I think it's worth revisiting. It's such a powerful tool.
It is.
So remember, Tracy argues that since we can't do everything, we need to be really good at choosing what not to do. It's being really ruthless with our priorities, making conscious choices about how we spend our time and energy. It's so easy to get caught up in that whirlwind of daily demands, saying yes to everything, feeling like you have to be busy all the time. But this gives us permission to say, wait a minute, does this really deserve my time and attention?
Absolutely. And he suggests applying zero-based thinking to every part of your life.
Okay.
So you're asking yourself, if I wasn't already doing this, knowing what I know now, would I start doing it today?
Oh, that's a good one. It's like a reality check
It is. It is.
for our commitments.
Yeah.
And it forces us to evaluate if something's truly adding value or just taking up space.
Exactly. And if the answer is no,
Yeah.
then that becomes a prime candidate for creative procrastination or even elimination.
So we're decluttering our lives, literally and figuratively,
Absolutely.
to create space for what truly matters. Okay, I love that. Let's dig a little deeper into those techniques he suggests for those large, intimidating tasks. We talked about the salami slice and Swiss cheese methods.
Yes.
He's got a few more tricks up his sleeve, right?
He does. One of his key recommendations is, again, breaking those large, complex tasks down
Okay.
into smaller steps.
Okay.
So like the Sahara Desert analogy, right?
Yes.
Focus on reaching the next oil barrel.
One step at a time.
Exactly. And he actually suggests writing out a list of all the steps involved in the project before you even begin.
Oh, I see.
And then you just tackle them one at a time.
That creates a sense of order, a clear path forward. It prevents that feeling of being lost in the weeds.
Absolutely. He also suggests applying that 80-20 rule to, large projects. So identify the 20% of activities that will produce 80% of the results.
Okay, so working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. It's focusing on those high impact activities.
Okay, so every time you complete a small step, you get that little boost.
Yes.
It keeps you motivated and moving forward.
Absolutely. It fuels the engine of progress.
Okay, now we've talked a lot about breaking down tasks, but he also talks about those large chunks of uninterrupted time
Yes.
for our most important work,
He does.
those deep work sessions,
Exactly.
where we can really dive in and make some serious progress on those big frogs.
And he suggests scheduling those blocks of time in advance, making them non-negotiable, just like you would, an important meeting.
So treat those work sessions with the same level of respect.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And he actually gives some really great tips for how to, create those chunks of time. So again, he loves the early mornings at home before those distractions.
Seize that quiet golden hour.
Exactly.
Love that.
He also, again, suggests leveraging that travel time. Think of it as a gift.
Yeah.
Those flights, those train rides, they can be so productive if you approach them intentionally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in that. Pack my laptop, noise-canceling headphones, and treat those hours as an opportunity to get some serious work done.
It's being proactive, finding those pockets of productivity.
Wherever you can. Okay, so we've carved out the time, we're motivated, we're ready to dig in. How do we make sure we actually stay focused during those precious hours?
Yeah.
How do we resist those distractions?
That's where the concept of single handling comes in.
Single handling.
You remember?
Yes.
Starting your most important task and working on it without stopping until it's 100% complete.
I mean, it sounds so simple, but in a world of constant interruptions, it's so hard. Emails, notifications, messages, it takes real discipline to stay laser focused on that one task.
And that's why it's so important. Every time you switch tasks, you're incurring that mental switching cost.
Right.
And it takes time and energy
Oh,
to
yeah.
reorient yourself and get back into the flow.
So multitasking isn't really multitasking. We're just rapidly switching between tasks.
Exactly. And each switch drains our energy and slows us down.
And he estimates that task switching can increase the time it takes to complete something by 500%.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty compelling argument for single handling.
It's about respecting your time, your energy, and working as efficiently as possible.
And it's about eliminating that mental clutter
Absolutely.
that comes with trying to juggle too many things at once.
Now, even if you've, carved out that time, even if you're committed to single handling, distractions can still happen.
Our minds wander.
Yeah.
It's like our brains are wired for distraction.
They are. And that's where, again, developing that sense of urgency comes in.
Okay.
Remember,
Yes.
having a bias for action.
Taking action instead of just talking about it.
Absolutely. And he even suggests repeating phrases like, do it now, or
Yep.
back to work.
Yeah. That little voice in your head, that inner coach
Exactly.
pushing you to stay focused.
And it connects, again, with the flow state to
Yeah.
get that momentum that helps you enter that zone.
Okay.
It's really about channeling that energy into productive action.
Now, I have to admit, there are still days when I struggle to get started, even on those important tasks.
Yeah.
What's the antidote?
He offers this it's simple, but it's effective.
Okay.
Visualizing the positive consequences of completing the task.
Okay, so instead of focusing on the effort, the challenge,
Yeah.
you shift your attention to the rewards,
Yeah.
the benefits, the sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. He suggests imagining, how good you'll feel once it's done,
Okay.
what impact it'll have on your life, on your work, the relief.
Okay. So you create that positive mental image
Yes.
that pulls you forward, motivates you to take action.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
He also suggests, breaking the task down into those smaller steps.
Yeah.
And then just focusing on completing the first one.
Yeah.
Sometimes the hardest part is just getting started.
It's true. Once you take that first step, the momentum takes over.
Yeah.
And you find yourself making progress.
It's like that first bite of the frog. Once you take it, the rest is a little easier.
Okay, I like that.
And he also suggests setting a timer
Okay.
for a short period, like 10 or 15 minutes, and commit to working on that task for just that amount of time.
It's a good way to trick yourself into productivity.
It is. And then, once you've started working, you're probably going to want to keep going.
Exactly. You break through that resistance. Okay, I love all these tips. We've covered a lot of ground here in our deep dive into Eat That Frog.
We have.
We've talked about everything from setting clear goals to mastering single handling, managing our time, our energy, even cultivating a positive mindset.
Absolutely.
But there's one final concept that ties it all together.
And that is the power of persistence.
Persistence. It's not enough to just know these strategies. We have to apply them consistently.
Absolutely. And he actually defines persistence as self-discipline in action.
Sticking with it, even when things get tough.
Exactly. And he reminds us, the more we discipline ourselves to persist on those major tasks, the more we like and respect ourselves.
It builds our self-esteem.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
persistence fuels self-esteem, which then fuels more persistence.
It's like this amazing cycle.
It is.
It's about building that inner strength, the resilience to overcome challenges and reach our goals.
Absolutely. And he emphasizes that, by focusing on those most valuable tasks and concentrating on them until they're done, we actually shape our own character.
It's about becoming the best version of ourselves
Exactly.
and living a life of purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, so he believes that the ability to consistently eat that frog is one of the key ingredients to living a wonderful life.
Absolutely.
Having a successful career and just feeling really good about ourselves.
It's about taking ownership of our lives
Yeah.
and our work and creating the future that we desire.
And that's what this is all about. It's not just about productivity. It's about living a more fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
A life of purpose and meaning.
And that's a wrap on part 2 of our deep dive.
Welcome back, Frog Eaters. We're in the final stretch of our deep dive into Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog.
We've uncovered, a wealth of productivity wisdom.
Oh, yeah.
From setting those super clear goals
Yeah.
to, mastering that single handling.
Absolutely.
But in this final part, we're going to distill it all down
Right.
to those key takeaways that you can really, walk away with
Yeah.
and apply in your life.
Love it. So think of it as our frog-eating cheat sheet.
Yes.
All the essential ingredients to, conquer procrastination and get things done.
That's it.
Okay, so where do we start? What are those core principles that really make this method so effective?
Well, he lays out 21 great ways to stop procrastinating and get more things done faster.
21. Wow, okay.
Are you ready for a rapid fire recap?
Hit me with it. Let's hear those 21 frog-eating secrets.
All right, number 1, set the table.
Okay.
This one emphasizes clarity and written goals. It's about deciding what you want and putting it down on paper.
Making those goals tangible and real, something you can actually see and interact with.
Exactly. Number 2, plan every day in advance. And this is where those, daily, weekly, monthly lists come in.
Thinking on paper, organizing your thoughts, creating a roadmap.
Exactly. Number 3, apply the 80-20 rule to everything.
A classic.
A golden oldie, but a goodie.
It's all about identifying those high-impact tasks, the ones that really move the needle.
Exactly. Number 4, consider the consequences.
Yeah.
So we talked about this earlier, tapping into that long-term thinking.
Yeah.
Aligning your actions with your ultimate goals and aspirations.
Will this matter a year from now, 5 years from now?
Exactly. Number 5, ABCDE method. our system for prioritizing those tasks.
Based on their importance and urgency.
Absolutely. Number 6,
Yeah.
focus on key result areas. Understanding why you're on the payroll, what your unique contribution is.
What are those core results that truly matter?
Exactly. Number 7, obey the law of forced efficiency.
One of my favorites.
It's that great reminder that there's never enough time to do everything, but there's always enough time to do the most important thing.
Oh, good.
Number 8, prepare thoroughly before you begin. Setting yourself up for success, having all the tools, the information, the resources you need, no more scrambling.
Creating a smooth, efficient workflow. Minimize distractions.
Exactly. Number 9, do your homework. This one's all about continuous learning, upgrading those skills and knowledge.
Learning is a lifelong journey.
It is.
Always room for improvement.
Absolutely. Number 10, leverage your special talents. Identifying those areas where you naturally excel, where your strengths lie. What brings you joy?
Playing to your strengths, finding where you can really make a difference.
Yes. Number 11, identify your key constraints, those bottlenecks that are preventing you from achieving those goals.
Getting really honest with yourself.
Yes.
Looking at those areas that need some attention.
Exactly. Number 12, take it one oil barrel at a time. Even the most daunting tasks can be accomplished. Just break them down.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. Exactly. Number 13, put the pressure on yourself, taking ownership of your goals and deadlines, holding yourself accountable.
Even when there's no external pressure. That inner drive. Self-discipline.
Exactly. Number 14, maximize your personal powers. This one's all about that energy management, taking care of your physical and mental well-being, showing up as your best self.
Recognizing that you're not a machine. You need rest, nourishment, time to recharge.
Exactly. Number 15, motivate yourself into action. Become your own cheerleader. Cultivate that positive can-do attitude.
Shifting your focus from negative to positive, believing in yourself and your ability to achieve those goals.
Absolutely.
Number 16, this one raises some eyebrows. Practice creative procrastination.
Strategically choosing what not to do.
Exactly. It's about freeing up that time and energy.
Giving yourself permission to say no, protect your time.
Exactly. Number 17, the heart of the method. Do the most difficult task first.
Tackle that frog head on first thing in the morning.
Yes.
When your willpower and energy are at their peak.
Get it out of the way early. Move through the rest of your day with a sense of accomplishment.
Okay.
Number 18, slice and dice the task. So here come the salami slice and Swiss cheese. There they are.
Breaking those overwhelming tasks down.
So we don't feel intimidated.
Exactly. Number 19, create large chunks of time. Scheduling those focused work sessions, those deep work blocks.
Treating them with the same level of respect and commitment as any other important appointment.
Exactly. Number 20, develop a sense of urgency, cultivating that get it done energy. Bias for action.
Minimizing delays, moving swiftly towards your goals.
Exactly. And finally, number 21, the culmination. Single handle every task. Start and work without stopping until it's 100% done.
Eliminate multitasking. Minimize those mental switching costs. Working with focus and efficiency.
There you have it. The 21 great ways to stop procrastinating and get more things done faster, according to Brian Tracy.
Wow, that was quite a list. It's incredibly inspiring, though, like a roadmap to a more productive life. So what does this all mean for our listeners?
It means procrastination is not a life sentence. It's a habit that can be broken. Eat That Frog gives us the tools.
It's a call to action, to become more deliberate and focused and effective.
And a reminder that even small changes, consistently implemented, can lead to those extraordinary results.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Eat That Frog, Pig, I want to leave you with this question. What's the biggest frog you've been putting off? What would your life look like if you tackled it one bite at a time?
Think about it, ponder it, and then take action. Remember, the power to change your life, to achieve your goals, to live a more fulfilling life, it lies within you. Now go out there and eat some frogs.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Eat That Frog. We'll see you next time.